Again, I'd like to welcome you to our final community meeting of District 3 for this calendar year. We certainly try to have a number of community meetings that inform the community about important matters facing not just only District 3, but our community in general. My name is John Kennedy. I'm the Vice Mayor and Council Member for District 3. The Vice Mayoralty is a rotating system, even though the mayor is in fact elected citywide. So I'll be finishing up my term as Vice Mayor, I believe, in around May of 2019. So, unless all of you rise up in arms and tell the mayor that you want me to stay longer, then they'll probably change that. Like those claps, like those claps. So I'd invite all the speakers this evening to speak from the podium because our KPAS organization, Pasadena Media, is recording this event. That's to make sure that everybody acts appropriately. Let's, where is that? That's mine. Let's silence our phones so we don't have that problem occurring. See, I didn't call you. Please silence your phones. Okay. First, I'd like to just acknowledge First Sergeant Irving Turner. He's a 24-year Army veteran, has been teaching Blair Army Junior ROTC for the past 20 years. The program provides over 1,200 community service hours yearly. The program is the only junior ROTC in the Pasadena Unified School District. I'm appreciative of all of the cadets and certainly Sergeant Irving Turner, who's always here opening up District 3 meetings. So at this time, I'd like to introduce the young people who are part of the ROTC at Blair High School. Command Sergeant Major Melanie Cabrera. She is a Battalion Sergeant Major, second-year cadet. Private First Class Cassidy Dembowski, second-year cadet. Private First Class Justin Ramirez, second-year cadet. Private First Class Miguel Garcia, first-year cadet. Private First Class Jennifer Hernandez, first-year cadet. Private Mirani Martinez, first-year cadet. Please post colors.
Left, right, left, right, mark time, march, left, right, left, color guard, hold, left, face, present, gunners.
Place your right hand over your heart. Say the pledge to me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Carry, gunners. Right, face, come left, march, left, right, left.
Let's give a round of applause for the Blair High School ROTC. And let's also give a round of applause to all the men and women in uniform across the globe and here at home who keep us safe every day. At this time, I would like to introduce Dharma Master Shi Xing Da Wang Di Ji, left. Is that good? Dharma Master Shi Ching Da Wang Di Ji left the secular life and became a monastic in Taiwan. She is a full-time Buddhist Dharma master and spends her time teaching people how to meditate and how to learn and practice Buddha Dharma. She ardently loves and respects the United States. Wherever she goes, she highly praises the freedom and democracy of the United States and highly praises it as being a magnificent nation. Please welcome for the opening prayer, Dharma Master Shi Ching Da Wang Di Ji. Please.
祈祷恭请虚空一切诸佛菩萨、一切上帝、方神、地神、诸有神灵们护佑加持帕萨迪纳市顺利、平安、大吉祥、无灾无难，诸事兴隆昌盛，人民阖家安乐，健康长寿，生活美满。
The following is the translation of the prayer. We pray and respectfully request that all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all gods, local spirits, earth spirits, and all deities bless and protect the city of Pasadena so that it will operate smoothly, be peaceful, greatly auspicious, free of disaster, and prosperous in every respect, and so that its people have peaceful and happy family lives, good health, longevity, and fulfilling lives.
Now I'd like to take a special privilege, as I usually do, and introduce the next speaker. Terry Tornick was born and raised in New York City and moved to Pasadena to accept the position of planning director for 3 years. After leaving city government, he remained active in Pasadena affairs through his 20-year service as a board member of the Pasadena Neighborhood Housing Services, a nonprofit organization devoted to affordable housing in Northwest Pasadena. He was elected to represent District 7 on the City Council in April 2009, was re-elected in 2013, and was then elected mayor April 2015. Please welcome Mayor Terry Tornick.
Well, good afternoon. I think we can anticipate one more announcement over the PA while I'm talking, but we'll live through that. First, I want to say hello to everyone, and I'm grateful to Vice Mayor Kennedy for inviting me to his District 3 meeting. I will tell you that there is no chance that he will continue as Vice Mayor after May of, in spite of his, not because we don't love him, just because the practice has been that it's a 2-year gig, and John's tenure will be coming to a close, and he will likely be followed by Tyrone Hampton, who many of you may know. So we don't want to keep Tyrone waiting, right? I mean, I think fair is fair. But I will tell you that John will be riding down Colorado Boulevard on New Year's Day with me and my family, so you'll have a chance to see him on that opportunity, because we consider John to be a member of our family. And one other comment I must make here is that I don't have a banner like this. Why do you have a banner like this? Something's up here. I don't know. I have to talk to Lisa about that. The business we're having, as I understand it, the kind of community and celebratory portion of the event a little bit later out in the Great Hall. So I won't do the sort of New Year's community building talk that I would like to do. But what I would like to do as a piece of business, because this is the community meeting where people talk about important business activity before the city, is to thank all of you who are voters in the city of Pasadena for passing measures I and J on November 6th with an overwhelming margin. The significance of the action that you have taken, and it's a tough action that you've taken in terms of being willing to tax yourselves more, which is not a small thing to ask people in tough times, is to make it possible for the city to continue to operate facilities like this. There's no city in the country that has 10 branch libraries like the city of Pasadena does, where you're literally within walking distance of a branch library wherever you live in the city. Our ability to maintain those services, to improve our services, and to begin to upgrade some of our important community facilities like fire stations and streetlights are all going to be made possible by the action that you have taken. And so I'm very grateful. That's Measure I. Measure J, which passed by 72%, is a measure which takes a portion of those funds, those additional tax funds, and spends them on the Pasadena Unified School District to help educate your children. And I think that the fact that the voters of Pasadena were willing to tax themselves, even though many of them have children who have grown or have no children or have children in private school, the fact that this community recognizes that to be truly a great city, we must have a great public school system speaks a lot for the devotion that people have to their community in Pasadena, and I thank you for that. So that really is the business part of my conversation. I will tell you that John Kennedy has been a very resourceful and a person as vice mayor and has been a strong advocate for his community. There is nothing shy about the advocacy that John Kennedy offers at the City Council on Monday night. For those of you that attend those meetings or watch them on television, I don't need to inform you that, but I'm grateful for him organizing this wonderful activity today, and more about that a little bit later. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
That's our mayor, Terry Tornick. Give him a round of applause. At this time, I'd like to introduce the gentleman who works very closely with our esteemed department head who represents all of the libraries in the city of Pasadena. We truly have a library system. Tim McDonald is the Deputy Director of the Library and Information Services, has been with the library for 3 years. In this role, Tim is responsible for overseeing branch services, the library's collections, and day-to-day operations. Prior to coming to Pasadena, Tim worked for Clark County Library System in Las Vegas, where he gained valuable experience in branch management and adult literacy programs. Prior to becoming a librarian, Tim was an elementary school teacher. Tim, welcome, Tim, and tell us a little bit about the library. Tim, are you here? Yes. Come on in.
Good afternoon, season's greetings, and welcome to Pasadena Central Library. Please do me a favor in the back. If you can't hear me, give me a wave. I'm not used to being up here on the stage, but it's nice to be here today. I'd like to say what a pleasure and an honor it is to be part of the annual District 3 community meeting and holiday celebration. I'd like to say how thankful I am to Vice Mayor Kennedy for choosing the library for this event. It's an honor to be here. Thank you to your team and to you for creating a fantastic program this year, and especially thank you to the many volunteers and city staff that put this event together, and especially thanks to all of you. By being here, it's one of the things you do to show your commitment to having a safe and engaged community, and thank you for all gathering here in the library so we can make our community stronger here today. I have a few brief remarks to share some good news that's going on at the library and hopefully entice you to come back for some programs and services that we're offering here at the Pasadena Public Library, and show you how that we're doing our part to try to contribute to the quality of life that we all enjoy here in the city. As I mentioned, some of these events, past and present, that are going on, and if anything catches your interest and you'd like to find out more, I'd tell you a good first place to start looking is this right here, our newsletter called Off the Shelf. So if anything catches your eye, you can learn more about it in this publication that tells you what's happening here or at any of our libraries around town. It's also on the internet too, if you look for us on the website. Let's see. My week started out in this very room, Monday morning. Does anybody remember some big news that made the headlines worldwide? The Mars landing was this past Monday, and it's been a long week, hasn't it? But about 80 people gathered in this room to watch a live streaming of the Mars InSight landing, and we were very fortunate.
Attention, everyone. The library will be closing in 5 minutes. If you have materials you wish to check out, please come to the.
This should be the last one. Sorry about that, folks.
All transactions must be completed by 4 o'clock. The copy and print center
is anybody going to check out a book? Now's your last chance.
The library will reopen tomorrow, December 3rd at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Sorry about that. So we were talking about the Mars landing. Monday morning, 80 people, toddlers to seniors, sitting in this room, and Tom Barber, rocket engineer from the Jet Propulsion Lab, was here to give us his live commentary and answer our questions as we watched it. And you would have had goosebumps. It was amazing. From the littlest ones all the way to our seniors, we're hearing in real time, oh, it's 3,000 meters above Mars, 1,000 meters, 500 meters, 30, and the excitement built, and when it safely touched down, everybody just erupted in cheers and was such an exciting moment. And I think what made it so exciting is even though it was a historic moment all across the world, to think that it was happening here in our backyard made it really special and something that we could be proud of. And it reminded me, in my 2.5 years, I quickly came to understand how important science is to this community. And I wanted to just share, that streaming event that we had on Monday was one of many science-themed programs that we do in our library. So if you're a science nut, please check out our programming and you'll find something else for you too. If you're an aspiring engineer, our Lego building clubs are just as exciting for the grown-ups as they are for the kids. You wouldn't imagine how many grown-ups come to those programs and really enjoy locking those blocks together and making stuff, and joining like-minded individuals at the library doing that. We've also been very fortunate to open a new service here at Central Library this year called the Innovation Lab. I don't know if anybody, it's right next door to us. Head out this door, second door on the left. It's a maker space where we've got a 3D printer, we've got sewing stations, wood cutters, where you can go in after you have an orientation training, you can go in there and kind of be set free on those devices and make something yourself. It's been a really popular contribution, new service here in the library, and like I said, it kind of speaks to the innovative spirit here in the community. We have a woman in her 80s that started coming here because she really wanted to find out about virtual reality. And if you haven't tried that, that's the one where you put a mask on and maybe you've got the devices in your hand where you can reach out and feel, and it looks like you're in a totally different environment. Maybe you're standing on Mars, maybe you're on the top of a mountain. And this woman decided, you know what, I'm not going to let this new technology pass me by. I'm gonna learn everything I can about virtual reality. And she comes every week and gets a few steps further into this virtual reality adventure and is just as proud as she can be of herself. So it's like science, people of all ages, and I hope you'll discover something here at the library. Let's see. Another important role that the library serves here in Pasadena is supporting our students to be successful in school. And I wanted to share a couple of very important programs that not everybody knows about. Did you know that we have free homework help after school here at the library? It's great. So if you have a student that you think needs a little practice or help with their assignments or even just practice reading, here at Central Library and other libraries around town, students can go in and work with a tutor for free on their assignments or with practice reading. And I just want to share a recent success story that happened at one of our branches. I'll call this student John. John was not doing well in school. His grades were falling and was losing interest, and some behavior problems developed, and his mom didn't know what to do. So she found out about the homework help program at the library and brought him week after week, and gradually after working with a tutor, he gained some practice reading and his other subjects, Grades went up, behavior problems disappeared. At the end of the school year last year, he was awarded with the Most Improved Award for his whole school. So it's nice. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see that that we can make a real impact in somebody's life, and sometimes it's a small impact that a lot of people enjoy, and sometimes it's a really big impact in one person's life. And that's what I'd like to highlight next. If you're not aware, Central Library here has...
Attention everyone, the library is now closed. Unless you're remaining for the community event, please exit the building. We will reopen tomorrow, Monday, December 3rd at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I really think that is the last one. Sorry. Yeah. Right. We've got a really special person on staff here. Her name is Precious Jackson. She's a city employee who works 1 day a week at the city's public health department and 4 days a week here in the library. And her focus is on meeting individuals that are experiencing homelessness, helping them navigate the process of finding housing, helping them meet basic needs too if they need help in that area. Precious has been at the library for over a year now and has had a lot of wonderful success stories. Just the month that we just ended, November, 2 individuals have permanent supporting housing because of the support that they've got from her, and she's expecting 1 more next week to also have housing in time for the holidays, which is phenomenal. It's a daunting process that an individual who hasn't had to find housing on their own before might be a little intimidated by. You know, going to an agency where you've got to do a long intake process, answer a lot of questions. A lot of people might get scared away. Precious is someone that's there to be a peer, go to the service agency with you and help, hold your hand through the process, follow up with you, make sure you're on time for your next appointment, stuff like that. And we're really proud of that accomplishment. There's a couple of libraries across the country that are housing social workers or case managers in the library, but not many. And I'm really proud that Pasadena is one of them. So it's a really great service that's making a big difference in some people's lives. Precious is headquartered here at Central Library, but she's available to work at any of our branches across the city, and our staff can put people in touch with Precious if they would benefit from having conversation with her. Let's see. Another program I wanted to touch on briefly is a really wonderful bilingual reading program for students called Lucha Libros. It's a reading program where we encourage kids and their families to read a book a month and then come into this room to answer questions about it. And it's a trivia style contest, builds a lot of excitement. When the kids get the answers right, they get a raffle ticket. At the end, all the kids get to choose prizes with the raffle tickets that they bought. And at the end of the year, the student with the most points at the end of the year is crowned the winner, wears a Lucha Libros belt and mask, and has bragging rights for the whole year. A tremendous program that not only creates a lot of excitement about reading, has made a demonstrated effect on kids' reading abilities in school. We give them a pre-test at the beginning of the school year and a post-test at the end, and we can kind of demonstrate that this program is moving the needle and teaching kids some reading skills. And parents have given us a lot of feedback too in terms of it making them more engaged. They're reading the books along with their kids. They're checking out the books here at the library, so there will be some activity in terms of bringing books home into the home. And we ask them, you know, what part of the program do you like? What could we make better? Should we keep the bilingual part or just make it in English? Should we be reading chapter books or nonfiction books? And we listen to what the parents say and adapt the program to what their needs are. So we do our best to try to listen to what the needs of the community is and give them programs and services that they want. If you have a second or third grader in your life, it's not too late to sign up for that program. It's called Lucha Libros. It happens once a month in this room here. And I just wanted to briefly talk about a couple things that are coming up in 2019. We are continuing our once-a-year signature program called One City, One Story, where we encourage everybody to read the same book and join a month of conversations about the themes that are brought up in that book. This year's book is called In the Distance by Hernan Diaz, and we'll be meeting the author, having a presentation and question and answer with them on March the 7th coming up. So plenty of time to read that one before March. And that's always a wonderful way to bring the whole community together. Did you know that there's a One City, One Story program for young people? Here in Pasadena, we've got we thought we'd do a similar thing with students, and we call it the Young Readers League. We just wrapped that up in November, where all the kids in the city are encouraged to read the same novel, do some activities around the themes in that novel, and meet the author too. So we had an author visit this past November that culminated in a speech here, but visited elementary schools and preschools around PUSD to give students a free opportunity to get to know the author and have an author in their school and get them turned on about reading. So that program continues to move forward and generate excitement about reading. The last thing I wanted to touch upon, because I haven't talked too much about teenagers, the library has a really impressive teen volunteer program, which I'm not used to from other library systems I've been with. Pasadena has a very engaged teen population, which is really impressive. They've chosen as a focus for this year mental health as their area of interest, where they're going to learn more about it, bring in speakers that can help teenagers learn about what are the warning signs or symptoms they should look for in their friends if one of their friends might be experiencing some type of crisis or need some help, and also give them some materials about how to relieve stress and cope with stress in their life. So a year-long initiative around mental health that teens will be engaging with this year. So lots going on in the library. Very excited to have you here. I said I'd keep my remarks brief, and I'd like to stick to that because I know we've got a big celebration ahead of us. But thank you so much for coming here. We'll see you again at the library. Thanks.
You can do better than that. Give them a round of applause. I'd just like to point out, not really trivia, but once upon a time I worked for the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and my father was a chauffeur and bodyguard for the founder, Dr. Theodore von Karman, and Tim talked about the Mars rover, the recent landing on Mars. I want to tell you a little bit just briefly about the gentleman who was really in charge of that. His name is Dr. Trebi Oyenu from Ghana, and he led the team. His specific expertise is in the robotic arm that was used in the mission. And he obviously is here at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, but I also would like to tell you that in Ghana, Google has made Accra one of its artificial intelligence centers in the world. So Google, which is one of the largest companies in the world, has artificial intelligence centers around the world, and one location happens to be in Ghana. So this is to all of you to look at Africa and the countries in Africa more favorably. And then obviously the city of Pasadena leads as it relates to its size, only of about 160,000 people. We now have a sister city in Africa. It's Senegal. The country is Senegal. The city is Dakar Plateau. So I just want to give you that little tidbit of information. What happened to my notes? Hey, Tim, you stole my notes, but I have a backup. I brought a backup. No, you got my notes. But I brought a backup, don't worry. Don't worry. I brought a backup. I brought a backup. That's called contingency planning. Okay. All right. Trying to make me mess up more than I am already. Oh, okay. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. And our next speaker is Billy Birdsell. And before I introduce Billy, One of his relatives about 20 years ago was here in the city of Pasadena talking to the community at the Pasadena Hilton. There were about 300 folks in the room. I would say 85% of the folks in the room happened to be Caucasian, and the rest were a sprinkling of America. And so this gentleman who was speaking to this group was named Michael Kennedy. It's Robert F. Kennedy's son, who was one of the leaders of Citizens Energy, and they sold the surplus heating oil, to folks who really couldn't afford heating oil to just keep people safe and warm during the winters. So Michael came to the podium and he said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce my cousin, John, would you please stand? So I stood, and everybody in the audience, their mouth was like, ah. So you'll understand the reference that I just made in a moment. And it has to do with the little children that are crying right now. I guess they're helping to lead into their father coming up to speak to all of us. Billy Birdsell is passionate about helping people. He served 2 tours of duty in Iraq and was a founding member of the Marine Corps Special Operations. He currently works in private banking for Stifel and volunteers as security consultant for anti-poaching operations in Africa. Billy lives in Santa Monica, California with his wife, Megan Kennedy Birdsell, and their twins, Arabella and David. I would ask, Billy, before you get into your remarks, that you would elaborate just briefly about the connection so people won't think I'm just totally crazy. Billy, come on. Welcome, Billy, to Pasadena.
My goodness. Good afternoon, everyone. As our wonderful Vice Mayor said, my name is Billy Birdsell, and it is such an honor to be with all of you today. Mayor Tornick, pleasure to see you. He was also a product of New York City. He was smart enough to come to California. I'm not the only one. And as the Vice Mayor said, my wife Megan over there, who we're having our 3rd child in 13 days. And pregnant, puts up with me going to Africa and going way out in the bush where I have no cell phone reception to live with trackers and tribesmen who are responsible for guarding rhinos and lions and elephants from the scourge of poaching to try to protect the last of these very special endangered species. So she puts up with me like no one ever has put up with anyone, and I am in great debt to her. And as the Vice Mayor said, her grandfather was Robert F. Kennedy, and she's the eldest of her generation. Her mother was the eldest of her generation, and it was her Uncle Michael, who the Vice Mayor talked about, who so tragically died young, but was such a gifted athlete and a wonderful guy who really devoted himself to helping people in need. So with no further ado, I just wanted to share with you a few remarks, a few thoughts about the source of our collective strength and the immense hope that I have for us in our great country, despite what we see so often and what we are frequently told. I'm sure all of us remember our first job. For many of us, it wasn't particularly glamorous and probably didn't pay a whole lot. But as I see so many people nodding, I know you know what I mean, right? So my first job was leading a Marine Corps frontline infantry platoon to Baghdad, and combat operations that followed both on that deployment and one that followed. And in our unit, we had one each. We were a true deep cross-section of America. We had Native Americans of many different tribes, black, whites, Hispanics, Asians, Jews, Gentiles, rich, poor, and everything in between. And most of my time spent outside the wire was in a Humvee. And the driver of that Humvee, his name was Xavier Lamar Cobb, may God rest his soul. And he was from a real tough neighborhood in Atlanta. And in between us, right here, he was right here, was Carlos Rochelle, and he stood in the turret and manned a machine gun. even when the heat index was over 130 degrees. So just imagine your blow dryer blowing on you for hours upon hours upon hours, and he dealt with that and stayed forever vigilant. And he came to our wedding in Hyannisport at the Kennedy compound, and I have a picture of him and I in Iraq and all our gear, and then him and I at Hyannisport. I'll value for life. And one of the reasons Carlos, I love him so much. His parents came from Durango, Mexico, and they came here with no sort of documentation or anything like that, but they love this country enough to send their only son into the most dangerous job and the most dangerous service. And it was such a pleasure to meet them a couple years back. But nevertheless, I rode shotgun, and behind me was a man named Ahmed, and he had no military training of any kind. He was an Iraqi, born and raised in Iraq. His family was from there. And he so very much believed in our American values that he literally risked his life and his family's lives to act as a guide for us and to translate and help us navigate the minefields of religious and cultural barriers, which are critical when dealing with a modern enemy in that sort of battlefield. And if the Al-Qaeda guys would have found out who he was or what he was doing, they would have killed his whole family. So in so many ways, he was braver than us. Nevertheless, that was all the way to say that if it happened to one of us inside of that metal box, it would have happened to all of us. And the snipers that try to shoot us and the insurgents who try to blow us up, to including on Christmas, they didn't care where our parents were from, and they didn't care how much money we had or where we went to school or what we looked like. To them, we were Americans. But nevertheless, every day, day after day, we woke up together, we ate together, we strapped on about 80 pounds of gear, loaded our weapons, and rolled out to meet what was to come. And as Americans, and as inhabitants of this incredible planet Earth, you know, our reality isn't that different than it was for us in that Humvee. Because there's nowhere else to go. I mean, this is it. And for those of us who share our collective values of freedom and equality and community, this is the last best hope for us all. And diversity and differences, and that we are a nation of immigrants seeking a better life. That is the source of our strength. And it is the foundation of American exceptionalism. And if you think about this, you know, we're not the biggest country in the world. We don't have the most people, we don't have the longest history, we don't have the most natural resources. But somehow, some way, when people come here from every single country in the world, of every different race, nationality, creed, religion, and belief, and express it to the maximum possible, with that focus on prosperity and doing better than the last generation did in expanding freedom and equality through our democratic process, we have been able to do more for more people in more places for a longer period than any nation in the history of mankind. And while our democratic process doesn't always give us exactly what we want, hey, it's also given us people who are the right person for the right job, who would have never had a shot anywhere else at any other time. And I believe that will just get better and continue to do so. So as we give thanks during this holiday season for all the wonderful gifts in our lives and all the sacrifices for those who risked life and limb to advance freedom for all of us, and that includes civil rights workers as well as soldiers and many others, I'd ask you to think about the last job you're ever going to have. Because that's the one that your children, your grandchildren are probably going to remember you for. You know, one of my great heroes, Muhammad Ali, said, the judges remember the last round. And I submit to you that the impact that you will have through all of your experience and efforts is going to be directly proportionate to your willingness to treat the strangers to your left and right like your life depends on them. Because it does. Happy holidays, everyone, and may God bless you and all your families.
That's Billy. Now, Billy, are you running for Congress?
I need like fundraising and history.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you got my support, and that's a lot of support. Give another round of applause for Billy Birdsell, and thank him for his service to this country and his future service to this country. Thank you. Now I'd like to take this opportunity to keep us rolling, because I know some of you would like to have a little beverage, have a little food, have a little fun. But before we do that, I think this part of the program is equally as important as everything that has come before. So I'd like to introduce John Eduardo Perez. He was born in Los Angeles and has been a member of the Pasadena Police Department since 1985. He has worked a variety of assignments such as community relations, internal affairs, gang enforcement and narcotics, and is currently the interim chief of the Pasadena Police Department. Over the years, John has participated in many organizational and community initiatives to reduce crime and enhance community life in Pasadena. One of the highlights for John was developing the Villa Park project in the mid-1990s, which enriched public safety and living conditions for residents in this neighborhood. Please welcome the interim chief, John Perez.
Good evening to everybody. How's everybody doing? Doing well, good. Just a few minutes up here and I will be gone and somebody else will take my place. Hey, man, how are you doing? To begin, we should have a round of applause for John, his staff, and everybody who put this together, please. It takes a lot of people to make this happen, and so we should really be honored with everybody who put their time into it. Secondarily, we have Chief Washington who's come up in a moment. Round of applause for his people who just came back from the fires up north and just honored to work with him, so it's great to have them back. Really quick, I'm up here just to give you an update on what we're doing in the community and what's happening. We are heading into the holidays, so I do ask for everybody that if you find opportunity to support one another and give where we can, please do. At the police department, we are starting our Christmas tree deliveries along with our dinners and gifts baskets that will be coming out soon, so please contact us by the website. If you need anything, a lot of you have my cell phone number, just text me and we'll put you on the list, and that would be great for us if we could do that. And as well, it's really important for this year, we remember the safety tips that we have. They're always good to remember. Try to keep those packages off our porches. This time of the year, we see a lot of thefts going up, and so just try to keep them off the porch if you can when they get delivered, or have a neighbor pick them up for you and bring them in. It's very helpful to do that. As well, we want to make sure that we keep things out of the view of the windows. I know the Christmas trees are great to view through the windows, but trying to make sure that we keep the expensive items off the window viewing would be good as well. So when you go shopping, really quick, it's also important that we don't put those bags and bags of shopping things on the seat of your cars, on the back seat. You know, we'd rather you not have them in the trunk, but that's a better place to have them than anywhere else. So please do what you can to help us out. When it comes to our community, when it comes to public safety, we see a decrease in crime at this point this year, almost 7%, which is positive. We did have a bit of a spike in the summer, if we all recall, and we were able to bring that down with some outreach, intervention, and also engagement through enforcement. So we did those things, so it was positive. So with that, I want to make sure you all know, if you have any issues in the community, any concerns that come up, please reach out to us, please email us, please get on our website and let us know what those are, as well as calling the police department's dispatch to report chronic problems or other issues. One last thing before I get off the stage. If you do not have our cell phone number or our number on your cell phone to our dispatch center, I urge you to put it on there. Usually we put an asterisk with the phone number in your cell phone. It's good to have wherever you're at. You could always call the dispatch center. That number is 626-744-4241, and so please have it in there, and you can call us whenever you need to, and you should be able to access it very quickly when you need. All right, so with that, I'll give it back to the Vice Mayor, but I want to thank everybody and thank everybody who put this together, and you guys have a great holiday and a Christmas.
So the interim chief has to make a trip to the Jewish Center, but he will be back. So I know that some of you have questions for him. We're not trying to move it so fast that you cannot ask the questions. So the interim chief will be back, and please ask him questions. He's very welcoming, easy to approach. So I hope that you would do that. But in the interest of time, we got to keep moving. At this time, I'd like to introduce our fire chief. Chief Bertrand T. Washington was appointed chief of the Pasadena Fire Department in 2014. Since his appointment, the department has been accredited by the Center for Public Safety Excellence. Commission on Fire Accreditation International improved its public protection classification rating. Only 57 of the 30,000 fire departments in the country are both accredited an ISO class. He'll tell you about what IOS class means. President of the Los Angeles Area Fire Chiefs Association, Area C Operations Coordinator in California Fire Chiefs Association, Executive Board of Directors. Please welcome our Fire Chief, Bertrand Washington.
Good afternoon. Wait a minute, what time is it? We're close. We're close. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you, Vice Mayor, Mayor, and everybody who's here to visit. This is an awesome turnout. I am here serving as Fire Watch. I'm a little bit concerned about the number of people, but I'm here, and so we are safe. We have the police officers that are here safe, and again, I tell you what, just like Chief Perez mentioned about our firefighters. But the police officers also do an awesome job here, so we can give them a round of applause. Our departments work very, very closely together, and I tell you what, it's definitely a pleasure to have a public safety partner like the Pasadena Police Department. And besides our elected officials, we're also very fortunate to serve under City Manager Steve Mermel, that's in the back. And so he's back there. We can give him a round of applause. And then in addition to the city of Pasadena, I also serve at home under my spouse, Sherry Washington, who's over here in the back. And I'm gonna tell you some safety tips that she's taught me as I help to put up our tree, and there's other holiday items that we all do as well. So, but I do want to share a few of those with you because there's so many ways that we celebrate throughout the city of Pasadena. Just so many families and cultures and different things that we do. But oftentimes in public safety, our firefighters have to respond to certain situations that could be avoided. So for those of you that are celebrating with Christmas trees, if you go out to purchase a live tree, we ask that you please make sure that that tree is healthy. Okay, trees burn very, very easily when they're dry. So you want to make sure it's very moist, it's very healthy. And when you get it home, we want you to immediately put it in water. Make the bottom of it a little bit raw. If you can cut off a piece of it, kind of saw some off, and allow it to get into water so it can just soak up water daily. And then you need to check it daily to make sure that it doesn't drink as fast as maybe some teenage children that you might have in the home. So you want to make sure that you fill it with water each and every day. And when you decorate that tree, or when you decorate with lights around your home, one, make sure that the lights that you use are UL approved. They have a nice little tag on it that says UL, and the wires are not frayed. There's no exposed wiring. They should all be coated very nice and well. And make sure you don't put too many strands together. All right, it generally shouldn't be more than 3 strands. And then you hook those up, you hang them up very safely. Make sure if you're using a ladder, you have someone holding the ladder. Just do everything that you can to be extra safe. My father used to say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so we certainly see that each and every day. And for those of you that are using candles, make sure you keep candles away from flammable materials. Do not leave candles burning overnight or when you're not at home. As a matter of fact, if you're using lights, please don't leave your lights on, especially on a tree, when you're not at home. Again, there's times where we go and we have different reports of smoke showing or smoke alarms going off, and there's times where there's Christmas trees, and it kind of ruins the holiday for that family. You know, I also saw our union president here as well, Scott Austin. I'm not sure exactly, he's here somewhere, and I see Rich, who's another perfect example, or acting captain Rich Dan, who's in the back. Rich leads up our toy drive. And so there's times where we have families that have experienced a very sad event, tragedy during this time of year, and thanks to Rich and his team, many other people, and thanks to many of you who donate toys, we're able to provide toys for families that face those tragic moments. So again, please be extra safe. Again, our firefighters have done a lot of great work. There's Scott Austin, who's president of our union. Again, our firefighters have done a tremendous amount of work. We appreciate the support that you all have given us. We've sent firefighters up to the Ventura and Los Angeles county fires. We sent about 11 firefighters out there, and they spent a number of days doing a lot of hard work. Again, we don't wish that on anyone. We really wish these events would not happen, but we all know that they occasionally happen, and our firefighters train very hard each and every day to make sure that when something like that happens, that they can be ready. And we help each other out in the state of California, unlike any other state. And so, but one glimmer of hope for us is when they go out there and they get that experience. When we sent them up north, we sent another 7 to lead a team of about 30 to do search and rescue at the camp incident where, there's several hundreds of people missing. And unfortunately, about 85 people perished in that event. So as they're doing the search and rescue and doing all the variety of things that they do there, again, we wish that would not happen anywhere. But they bring those experiences back here and help us to make the city of Pasadena a much safer place to live. So we learn from each and every incident where we send our firefighters to. And we cannot do that without the help and the support that each and every one of you give us. So on behalf of the Pasadena Fire Department, I would like to thank you for your support and thank you for all that you do to help us keep Pasadena safe. Thank you.
You can give a better round of applause to our fire chief. Where is Scott? I saw him walk out again. He doesn't want me to do this to him. The president of the firefighters union. Well, since I can't pick on Scott, I guess I gotta pick on acting captain Rich Rodan. So Rich is an extraordinary young man, and he has an extraordinary, lovely wife. Like my parents, they had 10 children, 7 girls and 3 boys. And Rich was trying to beat my parents, but he stopped at 10. So he and his wife have 10 children. So can you raise your hand up there, Rich? But really, I want to recognize the fact that I made a call a couple weeks ago and I said I needed toys for the families that are coming to the holiday celebration, and Rich Rodan and Scott Austin responded to that call to make sure that we have toys for the children this evening. Also, I'd like to recognize the Way of Life Car Club, and their president is Lavelle Johnson. I think many of the folks in green that just came in, they also brought toys for us for the children. So please give them both a round of applause. And I think Sandra Tong, Sandra, if you're in the audience, Sandra also brought, Sandra, are you in the audience? Hey, Sandra. Sandra brought toys for the children as well. Stand up, Sandra, let us feel you. Say thank you to Sandra. Is there anyone else in the audience who brought toys for the children? Say who you are so I can, oh, thank you. Rose. Rose and I hung out in Armenia together. So thank you, Rose, for bringing, hey there. Okay. I know I'm gonna miss someone, but I tried. So at this time, we're kind of closing out our program. And to do that, I would like to invite Imam Ibrahim Naim to the podium. Ibrahim Naim converted to Islam in 1974 while an undergraduate student at Kent State University and has been a dedicated member of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Southern California. He currently serves as the Vice President and Director of Community Outreach for the Los Angeles West Chapter of Ahmadiyya Muslim Community. In his professional life, Ibrahim has had a career as an executive of the Urban League of Los Angeles and San Diego. He currently is the operations supervisor for the Foothill campus of Pasadena City College. Please welcome Imam Ibrahim Naim.
Thank you, John. And I would like to greet you in the Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum. I love that when you talk back to me. I've been asked to say a prayer, and since I'm the first of those who will be saying prayers, I'll use the opening chapter of the Holy Quran as my prayer. This is the most often recited prayer that I know of in the world. We say it each and every rakat of our prayers. It goes like this. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim. Ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amen. It means, in the name of Allah, most gracious, ever merciful. All praise belongs to Allah, Lord of all the worlds, the gracious, the merciful, Master of the day of judgment. Thee alone do we worship, and Thee alone do we implore for help. Guide us along the straight path, the path of those on whom You have bestowed Thy blessings, not those who have incurred Thy displeasure, nor those who have gone astray. Ameen. May Allah bless you all and give you a very enjoyable, safe holiday season. Assalamu alaikum.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Rabbi Noam Raucher. Rabbi Raucher was born into a 6-person family and raised in Connecticut. He was ordained in 2011 and has served as a rabbi in North Carolina and in California, more specifically the San Gabriel Valley. The rabbi has an amazing partner, Tamar, along with his sons, Judah and Elijah, and 2 dogs, Dixie and Lucy. Please welcome Rabbi Raucher.
Shalom, friends. It's a pleasure to be here. Say shalom back. Shalom. Beautiful. It's the holiday season. We have to have shalom. We have to have peace. That's what it means. Peace to all of us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Vice Mayor Kennedy, thank you for having me. Mr. Mayor Terry Tornek, Maria, thank you so much for having me. It is truly a pleasure here today. Tonight is actually the very first night of Hanukkah, friends, which we will continue to celebrate for 8 complete nights, and you will see my fellow Jews all around the beautiful San Gabriel Valley, and more specifically in our beautiful Rose City of Pasadena, lighting their Chanukiot like I've brought here. This is my wife Tamar's Chanukiah. And I asked the men arranging this event today if I could light the Chanukiah in front of you all, and they said, you know, there's actually going to be a lot of firemen there. So why don't you just bring the Chanukiah? So I said, fine, I'll bring the Chanukiah, but I brought 2 prop candles anyway, just to show you. Now the Chanukiah is actually really important because there's a debate in our tradition which says that during this time of year we have to make a decision. Are we going to fill up the Chanukiah with brightly lit candles, one night, each night increasing those lights? Or are we going to fill it up the first night and each night decrease one of those lights so that by the 8th night it's not full, it's empty? And the reasoning behind that is, well, look, the sun diminishes a great deal during this time of year. It gets darker and darker sooner, so we should have a ritual which symbolizes the lack of warmth and the darkness that creeps in. But then all the more so, there's a tradition that says, no, even specifically during dark times, we should seek to bring the light in. And I think, friends, particularly during this time of year when it literally does get dark, simply because that's the way the world turns and it gets colder, but most especially since we know that sometimes the darkness creeps into our relationships, into our societies, into our communities, and it poisons the way we feel, and it brings a strange and ugly coldness to our lives as well. My blessing for us this holiday season is that we each remember, as Proverbs says, that each member of humanity is a candle, and together they are God's lamp for the world. So, my friends, this holiday season, as the darkness does creep in, may each one of us light our candles internally. May each one of us let our lights burn beautifully bright to bring our goodness and our peacefulness into the world, increasing it and certainly not decreasing it this holiday season. I bless you to keep your lights burning as bright as possible. Let us say Amen, happy holidays, and Shalom.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Reverend Jared K. McDaniels. He is the proud pastor in the esteemed congregation of the First AME Zion Church in Pasadena. A respected businessman, Reverend McDaniels is a 10-year employee and regional director of human resources for AAA Parking. His profession complements his charge to lead others through a capable, spirit-led leadership approach that unearths inner potential and compels others to willingly serve. Please welcome Reverend McDaniels.
Good afternoon. I greet you in the matchless name of our Lord and our Savior, Jesus, who was also called the Christ. And as Jesus led his disciples to pray, I too will lead you on this evening. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, we're at that time. Yeah. So let me just give some announcements before we dismiss. First of all, for those who have announcements for us to make, there's a much larger congregation of friends and family outside of this room. And so we'll have another program that takes place in the Great Hall where you'll hear from Congresswoman Judy Chu. You'll hear from our mayor, maybe a little bit more relaxed and less formal. Maybe he'll say something, you know, festive outside. We're expecting that. And there'll be others in our community who will speak from the major public address system that's outside of this Donald Wright Auditorium. So let me just read through my closing remarks very quickly to make sure we all have this correct. I'd just like to again thank all of you for coming to the District 3 community meeting. You all look fantastic. This represents the best of what America is about, the best of what Pasadena is about. Our diversity is our strength. It is not a weakness, and we need to celebrate that diversity. And diversity comes through all economic lines, integrally, vertically, horizontally, but we're all one human family. So, we have now come to the point where we have concluded the informative and thoughtful portion of our evening and can transition to the real fun, our holiday celebration. Before we open the doors and start our festivities, I would like to give everyone a quick overview of the various treats, sweets, and going-ons we have planned for your delight and enjoyment. Please refer to the activities map. If you don't have the activities map at your chair, there are also activity maps to the left right there, so you'll know what room has what in it and account for the many elements of our holiday celebration. Along the walls of the main hall, you will find tables filled with food, desserts, and beverages of many cultures. No alcohol this time. As you tour the library, there are food stations along the northern wall, the eastern alcove, and the southern wall. If you navigate to the west patio, you will also find delicious crepes. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but you know what a crepe is, right? What is it? Yeah, it sounds right. Cut. Those are little flat pancakes that people be trying to act haughty-taughty with. Okay, for activities, there will be poetry and storytelling in the children's room, brought to you by none other than Dr. Gerda Govine Tuarte and the Rose City Poets, arts and crafts with the Armory Center, a candy bar and a DJ in the Humanities Hall, and 2 movies that I personally selected. You can analyze me later about them. The first movie is The Red Balloon. It's a French movie that all of us saw in elementary school. It has, I believe, very little, if no, speaking parts, but you'll get the message. And the second one is a real treat holiday movie that I think all of you have seen over the years, and that's called It's a Wonderful Life, played here in the Donald Wright Auditorium right here, starring Jimmy Stewart. We have also brought to you some very special guests to make this a truly wonderful evening. There is, of course, Santa Claus and his elves in Santa's Village. So we created a Santa's Village for your children. In Pasadena's tradition, we are pleased and proud to present to you the 2019 Rose Queen in her royal court. She'll be here taking pictures with your children and with some of you who would like to do that. And last, but certainly not least, we're honored to have with us a special guest who quite literally flown halfway around the world from Cannes, France to be here for this special event. Mr. Pascal Impec, will you please stand? The artist of the masterful oil on canvas painting that hangs in our prestigious Central Library entitled, Yes, We Can. For those who are kind of uncouth like myself, we would refer to him as a black Frenchman. He was born in France, and you know, with this Africa thing rising all across the globe, you may have noticed that France won the World Cup. And this little gentleman by the name of Trevor Noah said to a billion people, I think really Senegalese won the World Cup because 19 of the players happened to be from Senegal. So let's give a round of applause there. Now, continuing on with Mr. Impec, he will be here to meet our guests and discuss the painting and explain the progressive montage of African culture, African American history, and the prominent figure of Barack Hussein Obama, the 44th President of the United States, who's prominently portrayed in the mural. There will be greetings from the Mayor of Pasadena, which I mentioned earlier, carolers, music, food, and fun. So let's get this party started. I'd like to encourage you all to traverse the Great Hall. That's that long hall that looks like it's from a Harry Potter movie. There is plenty of food and fun to be had. If the food lines are long, be sure to start on the activity. Spread out, have fun, enjoy your neighbors, friends, and fellow Pasadenans. Welcome to the District 3 holiday celebration. Thank you. God bless. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Today, as we really begin the holiday season, including Hanukkah and other holidays, we're just saying we are one family, one community. And so we have foods from all over the world that we're sharing tonight with our brothers and sisters, neighbors, friends and relatives, all of the folks who represent District 3, who make up District 3, but in large measure, there's someone from every district in the city of Pasadena here tonight enjoying themselves and just expressing the oneness that exists in all of us. So we hope that everyone is having a great time here at the Central Library in Pasadena. So again, happy holidays to all of the residents of the city of Pasadena and all of our guests who are here tonight and who are experiencing the holiday season. Thank you, and God bless you. God bless you all.